the Steelers after 5 straight losses to finish their season. Mike Tomlin just held his end-of-the-year news conference. Are major changes ahead for the head coach and his team? The Chiefs begin their quest for a three-peat on Saturday at home against the Texans. Patrick Mahomes just shared his thoughts about what lies ahead. We'll hear from him shortly, but we begin with the Dallas Cowboys. After moving on from Mike McCarthy, could Jerry Jones be set to take a big splash and hire Deion Sanders? Here's what Adan Schefter had to say this morning.
I spoke to Deion last night, and he said to me that he was not intending to go to the NFL, not that he will go to the NFL. That's not what he was thinking. But that the love and respect he has for Jerry Jones is so great that if Jerry Jones calls him, he's always going to listen. Jerry checked in with Deion yesterday, and they'll continue talking. But I said to Deion last night, so what's next? And he said, I don't know. So I think everything's really up in the air. Maybe that means talks intensify. Maybe it means they don't. I don't think he knows right now. And by the way, I think that's probably also true for the Dallas Cowboys.
All right, we welcome in NFL analyst Dominique Foxworth and Jeff Saturday to talk about this. Nick, I'm going to start with you on this one. We've seen Jerry Jones paired with another big personality in Jimmy Johnson. That relationship did not end well. Would a relationship between Jerry and Deion work?
Well, that relationship didn't end well, but it started pretty great. I mean, they got a couple Super Bowls out of it, and then they brought in Barry Switzer, and he stole a third one. So if that is if that's a symbol of what Jerry Jones can do with Deion Sanders, then you better hurry up and sign him. And I think Deion's personality is such that he'd be one of the few coaches that I think would not, I guess, wither under Jerry Jones' attention, kind of hoarding personality, and could still lead his team. But all in all, I still think it's probably a bad match. I think it's a high risk and probably high reward, but the risk is so high that I don't think I love this pairing, and I don't see it happening because Deion doesn't want to work under someone like that, I wouldn't think, and Jerry Jones certainly wouldn't want to work with someone who could consume as much spotlight as Deion Sanders.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think part of the issue for Deion in taking the job is you have Mike McCarthy, who was there 5 years. 3 of the 5, he was, 12-5, won one playoff game. Jerry had talked about this is about playoffs, not about regular season. So even if Deion goes in and they have success, how quick will Jerry want to, pull the hook or replace him if he doesn't win playoff games? And listen, that's not an easy thing to do. The Eagles are going to be in your division. The Commanders we've seen with Jaden Daniels. It's not like this is just going to be a rubber stamp. Hey, we're automatically in the playoffs and winning them. It's become much more difficult. So I'm with you. I think Jerry doesn't want to share the spotlight. 30 years of behavior have shown you since Jimmy Johnson, he doesn't really want it. So I don't think it changes with Deion either.
I love those throwback clips. That's amazing to see. There's just be so much pressure if Deion were to be in Dallas. But yesterday on our show, another former Cowboy had a different take on what a pairing between Jerry and Deion could look like. Take a listen.
We know Jerry loves the flash. We know he loves to bring the attention, and no one would do that more than Prime. Prime may be one guy that can at least go up to the office and say, Jerry, let's try it my way, because of the respect that I think Jerry has for Deion Sanders. So it's going to be super interesting, but I think he should be a name.
I feel like that's a pretty solid point. Jeff, what do you make of that take?
My man Swagoo is wishing and hoping, baby. Whatever he's saying, whatever he can say, please change the way you behaved and make this happen. Again, this has so little to do with Deion and so much more to do with Jerry Jones. And Jerry Jones has listened to very few people, if anyone, in the past 30 years. I don't care who that person is in that seat. It's going to be difficult. And that means that Deion would be knowingly usurping his own authority, where players can go around him, have conversation with an owner that might trump what he's trying to get done in the organization. As much as Swagoo is saying, that he would listen to somebody, I would have to see it to believe it. Maybe it'll happen. I'm hoping for Swagoo it does. I just don't see it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure Jerry Jones respects a lot of people. He probably respects, I would assume he respects all the coaches that he's hired. He respects them. He trusts their opinion. I mean, Mike McCarthy won a Super Bowl. The thing is, he trusts his own opinion a lot more. And
That's
I think
right.
that the reason why he makes his decisions is not necessarily consistent with what you would think is best for winning. And maybe he measures winning differently than we do. Maybe we think that he wants to win Super Bowls. It sure seems like he wants to grow the franchise value. He's been nailing that assignment, so he can keep doing that. So I'm not ssure that no matter who walks up to his office and tells him what to do, that he would change his behavior.
Yeah, it just doesn't seem.
Dub with their coaching search. Will it be a Hall of Famer in Deion Sanders, who has spoken with owner Jerry Jones about the head coaching vacancy? Sanders, who's just completed a second season at Colorado, said the possibility is intriguing, but that he's also happy in Boulder. As we bring in our NFL insider, Dan Graziano. So, Graz, there's one candidate out in the open. We know it's prime. What can you tell us about some other candidates for the Dallas Cowboys?
Well, Matt, they're still putting their list together. I mean, this is as of this time yesterday, they were just deciding really that they were moving on from Mike McCarthy and going to be looking for a new head coach. So they spent yesterday calling around, having meetings, looking to see who they are going to want to bring in, and you'll start to see them put in, permission slips to interview some people. They cannot interview anybody with the Lions or the Chiefs until those teams' season ends because they didn't put in any requests for them and do virtual interviews with them last week. But someone like offensive coordinator Kellen Moore of the Eagles, who was in Dallas for a while with Dak Prescott, both as a player and a coach, he's somebody who will probably get some attention. Obviously, we know about Deion Sanders. A lot of people wondering if Jerry Jones might look at other college head coaches as potential candidates too. So really the Cowboys list just coming together. I think we're going to start to see some names come out here in the next 24 hours in terms of specific guys they want to talk to.
Yeah, and speaking of list, what does Mike McCarthy's list look like for maybe potential opportunities for him?
The Bears have expressed interest in Mike McCarthy, and the expectation is that they will interview him at some point, probably this week, perhaps as early as tomorrow, which is the first day anybody can interview him. His exclusivity deal with the Cowboys expires at midnight tonight. We also anticipate that the Saints could have interest in Mike McCarthy. He has a little bit of history there from early in his coaching career. As of now, they haven't asked for permission, but as of tomorrow, they don't have to. They can just bring him in. So those are two spots to watch if Mike McCarthy is going to bounce and get a head coach job right away after leaving the Cowboys.
Yeah, and again, there aren't just Super Bowl winning coaches hanging around, and he's one of them. And if you've got a young quarterback, maybe the tutelage of Mike McCarthy would do you some good. You know who always does us good? Dan Graziano. Graz, thank you.
Envision a world where the Cowboys are ever irrelevant.
The Cowboys now are spiraling.
Not going to win a championship.
This is the time to rip the Band-Aid off.
Me personally frustrated. I'm frustrated myself with my play.
We've seen frustrating years, and this is one of them.
It's proper frustrations. We've got to look at all the things that have happened. Everybody's got a role in this.
It's a story everyone's talking about. Deion Sanders to Dallas. The Cowboys are in the early stages of their search to replace Mike McCarthy as head coach, and we know that Jerry Jones and Deion Sanders have spoken. Deion told Adan Schefter he doesn't know if he wants to leave Colorado, but if Jerry calls, he will listen. Does Deion to Dallas make sense?
It does to me, and I understand completely why it doesn't to anybody else because of Jerry and who Jerry is. I get that part. But what I'm trying to make people understand is that as much as you know about primetime Deion Sanders' personality, understand that he's such a vibrant personality that Jerry won't affect him. And it's not going to dilute the impact he's going to have on the players he coaches. Unlike a Bill Parcells or unlike somebody else, Deion Sanders has the ability to wrap his arms around Jerry and say, Jerry, come here, man. Listen to me. Let me talk to you. Other people had to sit up there and succumb to Jerry Jones saying, yo, this is what I want to do, and here's how I want to do it. It's a way that you got to deal with people. I'm saying Deion has that element that Jerry Jones won't shun because it still shines a light on the Cowboys, but it doesn't dilute his shine. Both can be true. I believe if Jerry Jones offers Deion Sanders this job, Deion Sanders gonna take it.
Deion comes in and he's automatically bigger than Jerry. Jerry don't want no coach. When was the last time Jerry had a player bigger than him? When was the last time Jerry had a coach bigger than him? Time shows up, he's automatically bigger than Jerry. That ain't gonna work.
I don't care how good a coach you are, how good a staff you build. If a player wants something different than the head coach, those two visions have now split. If you side with the player, you've weakened your team. This has nothing to do with Deion Sanders and everything to do with Jerry Jones. Because here's the truth is, the last guy that had the authority to walk in that room and say something had won Super Bowls for Jerry, and Jerry fired him. 30 years of behavior tells you that Jerry ain't changed and they ain't winning because of it. That's just the facts.
Well, if Deion does become the Cowboys head coach, here's what he'd be looking at. Dallas has to clear nearly $4 million just to be salary cap compliant. They have a few free agents, notably Zach Martin and DeMarcus Lawrence, and Dak Prescott carries an $89 million cap hit, the highest.
Well, folks, here's a twist y'all didn't see coming in the Dallas Cowboys saga. Word's out that the Cowboys have got their eyes on a familiar face for their head coach spot. None other than Philadelphia Eagles offensive coordinator, Kellen Moore. Yep, the very same guy who used to don the Cowboys star as a backup QB and later ran their offense as a coordinator. According to NFL reports, Moore's lined up for a virtual chat with Dallas right before the Eagles tackle the Los Angeles Rams this weekend. Now that's bound to stir the pot in the NFC East, ain't it? Moore's got quite the resume. After leading the Eagles to impressive offensive stats in 2024, ranking 7th in scoring and 8th in total offense, he's catching attention. But let's not forget his Dallas days. Back then, he wasn't just calling plays. He was practically tailoring the offense for Dak Prescott. Sure, there were grumbles about predictable routes and mismatched schemes, but Moore's no stranger to innovation. Remember 2021? Prescott hit a career-high 37 touchdowns under Moore's guidance, and Dallas led the NFL in scoring. That's something no one's forgetting anytime soon. Now, Cowboys fans are wondering, is this a genius move or déjà vu? If Moore lands back in Dallas, he'd be stepping into the Jason Garrett role, with Jerry Jones betting on familiarity over a fresh perspective. And let's not overlook the buzz around McCarthy's Texas Coast offense, which Prescott and Lambs have raved about. They say it's got tighter connections between the O-line, footwork, and route execution, something Moore might need to match or outshine. So, here's where it gets juicy. If Dallas brings Moore back, it's not just about stats, it's about synergy. Can Moore bring a blend of his past successes and fresh lessons from Philly? Or will fans be left reminiscing about missed chances? One thing's for sure, Cowboys Nation, Jerry's playing chess, and we're all just watching the board. But here's the million-dollar question. Do you think bringing Kellen Moore back to Dallas is the spark this team needs, or should Jerry Jones roll the dice on someone completely new? Let us know your thoughts, folks.